Okay, my name's Karen. This is my husband,
Alan.
and we've been fostering for a couple of years now. We're both retired teachers. And why did we decide to do this?
Well, I think it came about because our daughter finally left home and we found ourselves in a house that had a bit more space in it. And we'd been toying with the idea of fostering for a couple of years and anticipating her going. Got round to taking the plunge and applying. We got in touch with somebody locally.
That's right, there's a family in the village that had been fostering for a long time, and we were just exchanging ideas and having a chat. It was during COVID, wasn't it? We met outside.
That's right.
With enough space between us, obviously. And
They
they recommended
Midlothian, yeah.
They got lots of good support from them, and that had generally been pretty positive.
That's when the interview process started, which lasted for almost a year. But one of the Midlothian social workers came here on a monthly basis for a couple of hours each month and did some really in-depth analysis of us and testing our suitability, safety and all those sorts of things. And at the end of all that, there was an online interview with a panel, and after that we were given approval to start short stay visits for children aged 5 to 16, I think. And so far we've had 5-year-olds up to 14-year-olds on a short stay basis.
The advantage to us is that it fits in with our personal, situation. If we have visitors, if our daughter comes to stay, we know that we can't have any kids then, but we can plan a few months in advance and be as sort of as supportive as we can to full-time foster carers who remain.
I think it fits in with being self-employed, doesn't it? Which is the status of how this works. And of course, as a self-employed person, you can choose when you do the work.
One other thing, I did find the whole pre-fostering year actually quite therapeutic. I thought it was quite interesting to look back talk about your parents, your childhood, sort of what influenced you, etc. It was possibly a little intrusive at times, but that's understandable. It's how it should be. Do you find that?
I think one important part of that was that it got you thinking about your own childhood and history and all that. And I think that was a way into giving more consideration to the children that we were looking after, because we sort of relived our pasts and sort of went through all that. So it turned out to be part of the training in a sense. It wasn't just an interview. It was like more of a sort of deep briefing, I think. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, it was. But I think that convinced us that it was a good thing to do. First fostering we did was probably over a week or so for two children, two siblings. There was an older girl who I think was about 12, was she at the time?
12, 13, yeah.
And her brother was about 5. And very, very sort of different demands you can see there, and it went extremely well. And the other thing is, for me, I suppose as ex-educationists as well, it's quite nice getting back in touch with what technology's done to education, because I'm learning all the time about some really neat maths lessons and things like that, which I wouldn't have otherwise been exposed to. Maths, English, science, whatever it is. And I suppose because we're quite interested in that, it's nice having these 5-year-olds teach you.
Right. What I've really enjoyed with them as well, with most of the kids, is getting out into the garden, because it's quite a big garden and there's always something to do, whether it's, sweeping, planting, weeding. We've got chickens as well. They take up a bit of time and, effort.
So we've got a couple of lads who would sort of play on the forecourt with, it's a soft ball, but they'll kick around there for hours or make up their own game of baseball or cricket or something. And it's a similar sort of situation in the back garden on the lawn. So, they always manage to amuse themselves. But again, it's something that I quite like getting involved in as well. But they're all better than I am at it though. So I think one aspect of what we do, it's important to bear in mind that we only have them for a short time. And so in a sense, what we're trying to do is complement what the full-time foster family does. And of course, what the full-time foster family is responsible for are developing a lot of life skills, Everyday practical things. And some of these children really do need help with some basic levels of behaviour and skills development, whether it's the sort of thing that Karen's very good at, just cooking and things like that. And a lot of the project work to help with their, coordination and skills. Coordination skills just through kicking a ball around and all that, just giving them all those opportunities to sort of catch up on some of the development that they may have sort of fallen behind with. We're also on a list of emergency or short notice. We got a call out of the blue about a year ago saying that there was a lad from Afghanistan who needed somewhere urgently to start off with just for a couple of nights, and then it extended for longer than that. It ended up being
13, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was a 13-year-old that had somehow made it from Afghanistan, I think through Iran, through Turkey, all the way up through Europe to get across the Channel, and he was there down in England on the south coast for a short time. And there was a redistribution programme around councils to take some of the burden of this, to sort of share it equally. And Midlothian assigned this lad. And of course, that's a different sort of challenge because this lad arrived with virtually no English. And so trying to settle him in, it wasn't difficult to settle him in, I think, because his own experiences had been so diverse and challenging that this was extremely comfortable for him. But obviously, you have to be sensitive about religion, making sure that he can pray when he wants, finding some halal food, and taking on board all those cultural considerations. Some local fosterers, and they recommended Midlothian because of the support they provided. There are a lot of courses that they continue to provide, so there's a sort of ongoing professional training program.
Some are in person and some are online. So, it's held at different times, so, you're not stuck doing sort of, having to stop doing something. You can postpone it and do it maybe the day after. It's quite flexible.
And there's a wide range of input. Some of it's quite sort of practical, pragmatic, and stuff that you would really like to know about, like the first aid course, for example, and practical stuff like transporting children, safety with. In addition to that, there are sort of slightly deeper or more academic input sessions as well, do with how trauma can affect the psychology of children, the way the brain works, and that sort of thing, which helps you understand some of the more extreme behaviours and helps you take a more professional approach to dealing with those. And some of those sessions provide advice on strategies you can incorporate into dealing with those difficult situations. As part of the job, there is some admin to do. So there are forms to fill, records to keep, but that said, it's not particularly onerous. If you've had any sort of experience of doing a little bit of paperwork, it's all very manageable, so it's not a problem.
Your expenses are covered. I mean, obviously there's going to be extra food, extra heating, cleaning, etc., etc. So these things are covered.
If you're worried about that side of it, there's nothing to worry about. You're well compensated for the service that you provide.
I have enjoyed the whole experience. There is a bit of planning involved, and we like to sit down and decide what we're going to be doing with the kids that come. Maybe just have a rough plan, and I think that makes me feel more confident when I do it, that it's going to be within our bounds and within our reasonable level of competence. That's what I enjoy about it, making the plans and thinking, yeah, I'm looking forward to this. It can be very fulfilling, and I would recommend it.
Yeah, it's been rewarding, that's the thing. It's great that all the kids that we've had want to come back. I think it hasn't turned out to be a negative experience at all. It's the positives massively outweigh the negatives, and anybody who's just if they're 50-50 about whether or not they should commit to something like this, I just recommend that they go for it, give it a go.